President Trump is back in office. Whether you voted for him or not, there's going to be a lot of changes coming down in the next 4 years and of course the years after. In this video, I am going to break down what's coming on the pipeline and provide you some suggestions to build a financial foundation. Let's be clear that money is political. Decisions about money, how it's made, spent, taxed, or distributed are shaped by government policies. All of this has an impact on our wages, our taxes, our education system, and the cost of goods, as well as healthcare and social programs. It is important for all of us to be in the know so that we can plan accordingly today and in the future. Our children are relying on us to create a path forward. First and foremost, it will be easy to get distracted with all of the news coming out of the White House. But our primary responsibility today should be what's happening within our household. Let's control what we can control. No president can save us all. If the news is paralyzing you into inaction, you know the feeling. Heaviness in your shoulders, fear, anger, turn off the TV, log off the internet, and do something else. Keep in mind that the media optimizes for controversy. This is what they call outrage porn. It is any type of media or narrative designed to use outrage to provoke strong emotional reactions and then broadcast that to a large audience. Basically, someone out there does something and it gets you upset, and then someone else uses the fact that you're upset to rile up more people. This is unhealthy, and this causes many of us to actually not take action because we are just scared to. We are so angry to do anything, and that can lead to a lot of problems today as well as in the future. Presidents come and go, and while they heavily influence what happens in the macro level, they do not control our day-to-day. These presidents will not be here years from now when you are retired, when your children are in college, or when you are ready to take some of the big next steps in your financial life. It is our job to put systems in place so that no matter who the president is 5, 10, or 20 years from now, the only thing that matters is that we are working towards putting our family on the path towards financial independence. I also totally understand that we want to help people affected by all of the executive orders coming from the presidency, but it is absolutely hard to do that when your 4 walls are in jeopardy. It's hard to think when you're worrying about bills, how to make sure your kids are fed, how to make sure that you can get onto the next day. So before you do anything, put your own oxygen mask first so that you can build that strong foundation for your family first. Next, let's talk about tax cuts. There has been a lot of talk about tax cuts, and the administration is advocating for a $4 trillion tax cut plan, which includes extending the 2017 tax cuts, eliminating federal taxes on tips, overtime, and social security benefit. But here's the challenge. These are still in the proposal stages. There's nothing concrete yet that will immediately put money in our pockets. So my suggestion is to review your current tax situation. Make sure you are taking the right withholding so you keep of your money instead of it going towards a refund. This is crucial if you are having a hard time meeting your monthly bills. Getting some breathing room on a monthly basis can go a long way. The second is to take advantage of tax advantage accounts as best as you can so that you can reduce your tax liability today and tomorrow. There's so many ways to do this. I'll link a video up here with some tax advantage accounts you can look at and take advantage of. Tax cuts can certainly help increase disposable income for many families, but with no specifics yet, it's hard to tell who can really benefit. But unfortunately, waiting is not going to solve a lot of our problems today. So don't wait for these tax cuts to happen. Figure out what you can take advantage of today to take advantage of current tax policies. If you are a parent or planning to have a family soon, there are two tax benefits I want you to pay attention to. The first one is the child tax credit, and the second is the Child and Dependent Care Credit, or the CDCC. Both of these tax benefits have been designed to assist families with children. Now, based on documents circulating the Republican-controlled Congress, these tax credits are on the chopping block, either through non-renewal or deliberate elimination. While this should not dissuade you from having a family, you need to understand its impact anyways. Let's first talk about the Child Tax Credit, or the CTC. The CTC provides financial relief to families with dependent children. Now, in 2021, the expanded CTC reached over 61 million children in more than 36 million households. Likely, your family benefited from this credit. Now, during President Trump's first term in office, he enacted the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, which increased the child tax credit from $1,000 to $2,000 per child. This enhancement is set to expire in 2026 unless it is renewed. So depending on what President Trump and Congress do, either the CTC will either increase or go back to its $1,000 credit. And this credit begins to phase out for individuals earning over $200,000 or married couples filing jointly earning over $400,000. So this benefits a lot of families to reduce your tax liability. The second tax benefit that you should also pay attention to as a parent is a Child and Dependent Care Credit, or the CDCC. And the CDCC assists families in offsetting expenses related to the care of children under 13, which allows parents to work or seek employment. If you are currently paying for childcare, you know how expensive it is. And unfortunately, you pay for childcare so you can go to work. The CDCC is currently being reviewed and it could be changed and adjusted. We don't know yet what those adjustments will be, but it's something we all need to pay attention to. Now, we don't have a lot of control for what's going to come out of the White House, but what you can do starting today is pay attention to what's happening, pay attention to what's in the news, but don't get bogged down too much by everything that's coming out of the White House. Don't forget that a lot of this is meant to distract you and divert your attention. What you can do today is contact your representatives. Know who your congressional representatives are and let them know that there are certain topics that are important to you. The child tax credit and the CDCC is important to you. Let them know that so that they can advocate for you. That is their job. If they don't hear from you, they will never know that certain benefits, certain laws are important to you. So contact your rep, email them, you can leave them a voicemail and let them know what is important to you and your family. Next is a word you've likely heard everywhere, and that's tariffs, tariffs, tariffs. Tariffs are taxes on imported goods, and President Trump has announced plans to implement significant tariffs on various imported goods, with the goal to bolster domestic manufacturing and address trade imbalances. Now, these proposed tariffs will include levies on imports from China, Mexico, and Canada. Unfortunately, the United States heavily relies on imports from other countries. This will have an impact on our household, and its three major impacts will be this. One is an increase in consumer prices. Tariffs function as taxes on imported goods. If those increase, likely importers and companies will pass on these additional costs to us consumers, which will lead to higher prices on everyday items. If you just look around your house, likely those items came from somewhere outside the United States. Essentials like food, clothing, accessories will become expensive And unfortunately, that will disproportionately affect middle class and lower income households. The next impact of tariffs is, of course, higher food cost. The US imports approximately 15% of its food supply. Tariffs on countries like Canada and Mexico, which supply majority of our fruits, vegetables, and meats, could lead to a noticeable increase in the grocery stores. Some economists estimate that our grocery bills will increase, which unfortunately will strain our budgets even more. And lastly, as these prices increase, the cost of many of our essential goods will be greater for many families, and it will continue to lead to inflation, which means all of our budgets will get tighter and our spending power will decline, which means many of us might not be able to save as much for the future. And that's something that we need to understand and plan for. I do hope you have found this video helpful. If you do, please share it with a friend, give it a like, and of course, add your thoughts and advice in the comments. And the large area we need to look at is President Trump's pro-business stance. At his inauguration, we saw a lot of CEOs, and I will share with you a quote from one of the news articles here. By giving pride of place at his inauguration to a coterie of rich tech executives, Elon Musk of Tesla, Jeff Bezos of Amazon, Mark Zuckerberg of Meta, Sundar Pichai of Google, and Tim Cook of Apple stood in front of cabinet nominees like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the Trump team emphasized its relentless commitment to the pursuit of profit. Big business has an inside track in the second Trump presidency, and those with a stake in those businesses have reason to rejoice, which basically means that if you are a shareholder to a lot of these companies, you will benefit from it. And if we just look at the current state of the stock market, with the exception of the AI blip, it has been on an increase. So one of our key goals too over the next 4 years is to make sure we are investing, we are participating, because if Trump's pro-business stance takes place, if deregulation takes place, if he implements tax cuts, there will be more business being done. And it sounds like a majority of what's going to happen is going to push shareholder value, which means in order for you to participate in the growth of the stock market, you need to be a shareholder, you need to be holding shares of these companies. The first thing I would recommend that you do is budget. We all need to know where our money is going. When that paycheck hits, you should have a plan for it. Some of it can go to bills and some of it can go to fun stuff, but you need to write it down so that you and everyone in your household knows what it's for. I will refer to some budgeting videos here at Sisters for Fi, but there are 3 main problems when it comes to your budget and my budget, to be honest. The first one is many of us are not making enough to be spending the way we are spending. And this is likely why we are going into credit card debt. Now, this will be a reality check the first time and the second time and the third time you do your budget. Yes, it will take a few months for you to realize that you are overspending. There's certain things that you are not using that you're spending money on, and there's certain things that you are going to absolutely need to cut down. That is okay. The plan will be to change that. Now that you know the problem, this will be the time to find solutions. The second thing with most budgets is that many households spend too much money on fixed expenses. Fixed expenses are these expenses that don't change on a month-to-month basis. This could be mortgage, rent, a car payment, education costs, and other things. Fixed expenses are hard because there's not a lot of wiggle room. So the first goal is to figure out how to reduce those fixed expenses before you spend too much time cutting down the smaller expenses. Negotiate what you can and reassess your fixed expenses as often as you can. The reality might mean downsizing, getting a roommate, getting rid of a car with a payment, or going to an in-state school. These are large decisions that have big impact today and tomorrow. The third reality with our budgets is that many of us are relying too much on credit cards. It doesn't matter whether you pay it all off at the end of the month or that you get amazing rewards and points for it. Credit cards are designed to get you to spend more. They inflate your income. So instead of you spending your $80,000 income, you instead spend $100,000, 80 coming from your income and 20 coming from your credit card. So we need to be careful with how we're using these credit cards. The next thing that you should be definitely working on is to get out of debt. Debt comes in so many forms, but I would look at all of your debts, write it down, and prioritize anything that's in the double digits as far as interest rates. Likely, you will want to prioritize paying off your credit cards because unfortunately, interest on these are still fairly high and will remain high. The Federal Reserve has said that they are going to pause on any kind of monetary policy, which means there is no changes to some of these variable interest rates. As of this recording, the average credit card interest rate in America is 24.26%. That means for a debt of $10,000, your daily interest rate is $6.65 per day. That means if you don't make any payments, your debt grows by almost $200 a month. That's money going to nothing, just going to interest, going to the credit card company. So you want to assess your current debt load. And of course, it is easy to get into debt, but it is harder to get out, but completely possible. The snowball method is far the most effective to help you get on that debt payoff journey. So I want you to check out this video to see why that's effective, and then this video to help you with your credit card debt so that you can finally close all of those accounts. And the third thing that we all need to do is to make sure we start or continue putting money into our emergency fund. Now, in the last week or so, there has been a flurry of activity with executive orders coming from the White House. One was a pause on federal spending for most grants and loans. Now, if some of these go through, it could affect programs that many households rely on. Now, I understand that the goal is to reduce unnecessary spending, and I'm all for that, but it does have an impact on people's day-to-day. With most households living paycheck to paycheck, not receiving some kind of federal funds might mean not being to pay a bill on time, not being able to pay your mortgage or rent. One thing that I also just want to emphasize, especially if you are a federal government worker or a contractor for the federal government, if at some point these executive orders do come to light and there is a pause on issuing a paycheck, or your paycheck could be delayed by a month or two, or there's a government shutdown because there's no agreement, you want to prepare yourself and your household. So your next goal will be to start that emergency fund. $1,000 is a starting goal, but the end goal would be 3 to 6 months of expenses or more, depending on your family size, your industry that you work in, if it's easy to find a job or not, as well as where you work. If you are in a city, it might be easy to find a job. If you are rural, you might want to put more so that you have more of a cushion. And the last thing that we all need to do is start participating in the growth of this economy, which means you need to start investing. Investing is a scary thing to do, but it looks like with the Trump administration, they are going to be pro-business. So you are going to probably see a lot of companies do well in the next 4 years. And you can participate in the growth of these companies by being a shareholder, by owning some of these shares. Now, you don't have to pick out each company name and buy a stock for each company. Instead, use the 3-fund portfolio to build your initial portfolio. You can learn more about the 3-fund portfolio in this video, and there is so much on Reddit about it. There are books about the 3-fund portfolio, and it's very simple and effective to get you in the stock market and get you participating in the growth of the economy. Now, here is a chart on the stock market for the last few years, and you will see that regardless of the president, you will see the stock market has been on an uptick. I am investing for the long term, and you should be too. The president is only in office 4 years at a time, but you want your money longer than that. So investing for the long term will help you ensure that you have some income for when the time comes, whether you want to retire, pull it out early, and so forth. Just make sure that you are using a portion of your income for your future self. And don't forget to diversify your investments, whether that's diversification within your stock portfolio, maybe you're investing in other assets, as well as in diversifying your tax liability. Those are important factors when it comes to investing for the long term. And don't forget to invest in yourself too. What skills can you work on in the next 4 years that will grow your income? I love reading your comments, and thank you for taking the time to put them. Before you write a comment about President Trump, I want you to shift your mindset and instead leave a concrete step that you are going to take. What are you doing to ensure your household is better off when his 4-year term ends? Understandably, there is a lot in the air when it comes to President Trump's agenda, and many of us are just waiting in the sidelines to see what's going to happen next. Remember, don't get too distracted by all the noise that's happening. Focus on your house, focus on your economic goals, so that when the 4 years ends, you come out better than when you started. Thank you so much for tuning in to Sisters for Financial Independence. I truly appreciate your time. To help you with credit card debt, this video is for you. And to help you understand more about investing and how to invest today, this video about the 3-fund portfolio is for you. Thanks again, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.